Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to The Sovereign Way. I am Elizabeth. I am a messenger and a voice for love. And we are currently exploring deliverance, a magical, mystical quality of the universe, a mercy that is yours to choose, and a mechanism that you can always rely on. And our mission together on this journey across these 8 weeks is to get deliverance, to know it in our brilliant minds, in our beautiful, tender hearts, and in our marvelous bones. So welcome everybody watching all over the world, and welcome especially to my friends here in the Oasis. This is our inner circle community of spiritual leaders and students of truth. Now, as a reminder, what we're doing here is magical. So that means that engagement is the key to fulfillment. So if I ask you to drop a comment or an emoji, pop it in wherever you are, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or here in the Oasis, pop it in and weave yourself into the energy of expansion. You are not a passive observer of life, you are life. So play along. Let's try. If you are new to the Sovereign Teachings, type in, I'm new. And one of us will reach out to you with a gift to welcome you into the sovereign energy. And if you're a veteran and you've been following us for a while, type in, I am sovereign. And one of us will reach out to you with a gift to say, thank you for being a herald of his everlasting promise. Type it in, I am new or I am sovereign. Yes, yes, the sovereign ones. So this is our 4th week in an 8-week treatment of deliverance. And our aim is to get deliverance in our minds, in our energy field, and in our bones. So let's stack our teachings so far and get the logic of where we've been so we can see where we're going. Remember, the most powerful and potent pillars for sovereignty are magic and genius and Jesus. So we want the vibrational mastery to grow, the mental mastery, as well as the deliverance. So in episode 1, we asked, what is deliverance? And we recognize that a sovereign mind is always able to ask, am I free? And in those moments when I recognize I am not free, deliverance is the mechanism that releases my consciousness from the energy that has hijacked my life. That's what deliverance does. In episode 2, we asked, am I chosen? Am I chosen for a consecrated life, for an anointed life where growth simply occurs, where vines bud and where blossoms open? Or do I have to be the one who is self-sufficient and independent and made it all happen myself? Because the thing with deliverance is that humility to allow it is the key ingredient. And also the courage to rest in opulent devotion, even when there are still pots and pans to be cleaned. Remember the Mary and Martha dichotomy from episode 2. And even when the world around you might say that it's far more noble for you to fight your way out of the mud than to simply raise your arms up like a baby to her father and say, lift me up. So deliverance takes a huge paradigm shift out of our obsession with showing off how hard we've had to work. Can you allow yourself to be chosen, not because of your accomplishments, but just because? And that led us to episode 3 last week, exquisite release. And that's logical, right? Because you cannot be delivered from the thing if you're holding on to the thing with a white knuckle grip. So if in episode 1, we got that we need deliverance, in episode 2, we got that we're allowed deliverance, then in episode 3, it's all about releasing the thing that we're being delivered from. Trauma codes are intricately stitched into our identities, and some things are so much stickier than others. And that's why our shadow work and our self-analysis will bring us so far, but no further. Will bring us to the point of deliverance. It'll bring us to the threshold, but it is Jesus Christ that carries us across the threshold. So last week, we looked at a biblical protocol for forgiveness, the 3 steps in the process of a release that is so exquisite that you will be washed whiter than snow. And that means we've arrived here at episode 4, which is expansion. Because when deliverance occurs, it's never a sidestep. It's always into improvement. It's always into better. It's a quantum leap from one vibrational reality into one of a higher resolution. The borders of your psycho-pneuma-somatic capacity expand, and your capacity to hold the fluidity of his grace expands, increases. So you are able to allow more goodness to be made manifest in all areas of your life. Now, the expansion of your borders is energetic. So you manifest it by engagement, not by conquest. For conquest merely adjusts linear territory. Engagement infuses spirit into substance. So conquest adjusts linear territory, engagement infuses spirit into substance, calibrating reality, not moving lines on a map. There's a distinction, understand the distinction. So I'm going to tell a story to demonstrate. And it's not actually my story, it's actually a story that my husband, Matt, shared with me just this morning. He is the brains behind this whole operation. So my husband was at work last night at the restaurant, at the sports restaurant on Siesta Key, when a gentleman guest asked him, "Do you believe in God?" And Matt, as the restaurant manager, said, "God is absolutely real, and I believe in him." To which the gentleman immediately began to challenge him on what his religion was and saying, "I've studied in the ashrams and I've got mala beads from abroad." And he was giving thought experiments to try to prove to Matt that his God wasn't real. And Matt, listening to this man, simply said, "I know God is real because I see him in my life every day. It's simple. It's my real experience. And this knowing is supremely sovereign. And unless you can engage with this, you will not relate." Now, if this gentleman, as he was eating his burger there at the sports bar on Siesta Key, if he had been able to be present to the true answer to his question, he would have been able to engage with Matt's vibration, and expansion would have happened for him. He would have known more God. That's the universal law of increase. And that makes energetic sense, doesn't it? If you ask a question and you are present to the true answer, you know more, you expand. But the energy there wasn't engagement. The energy was conquest. It was winning. And winning is always to eliminate the authority of something outside my borders so I can establish my authority in that area. You do this in business a lot, whether you know it or not. In the business of life, you do this. the energy of transforming what I don't want into the thing that I think I want. It's a masculine way of expansion. Make more phone calls, solve more problems, hire more people, increase the bottom line. Adjusting your linear reality to more of the same. Had the man been present to Matt's true answer to the question, do you believe in God? He would have experienced the sort of expansion that we see here in the oasis, when our minds and our hearts, the minds and hearts of extraordinary leaders come together to share revelations, solutions to life's problems, treasures from the vaults of experience and expertise among us, each one of us bringing gift to the table, a gift that fulfills and nourishes everyone else. This sort of expansion is not about numbers of followers and dollars. It's not about winning territory or even respect. It's not even about laying new bricks of foundations for the castle you've been dreaming of for so long. It's not about accomplishment at all. This sort of expansion is of the soul, which can only happen in community, because Emmanuel means God with us. It's an opening of the heart and a blossoming of trust and love, a brighter reality growing from a natural wellspring of spiritual life force, reinforced and strengthened by the estuaries of knowledge, wisdom, and compassion flowing between us as different people walking different paths. This is where expansion occurs. We become an electromagnetic weight that is exponentially increasing as we hold greater and greater volumes of grace together. In fact, the miracles that have happened in the oasis over the years, as our consistent engagement with each other through the compression and expansion of life, has allowed beautiful ascension for us all individually and as a coordinated group of sovereign world service. This expansion energy is one of lightness and curiosity as we keep each other in the energy of becoming. Listen to these words. This is Song of Songs, chapter 7, 11 to 13. Come, my beloved, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, if their blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. The mandrakes send out their fragrance, and at our door is every delicacy, both new and old, that I have stored up for you, my beloved. That is the energy of expansion this week. And so since we're in expansion week, engage with the answers to your questions. Engage with the energetic call and response that is your relationship with God as he lures you deeper into himself. And allow expansion to manifest on his terms, not on your own. Perhaps he'll put on your heart to learn a new song. Perhaps he'll start taking you across new dreamscapes at night. Perhaps he'll show you new combinations of spices that are already waiting in your spice rack. Or perhaps he'll open your ears to new sounds and harmonies in your garden that you've never heard before. Perhaps he'll prune away another silly habit. Because here's the thing, if you believe in God and you trust that you are chosen for this time, chosen for this momentum, then when life opens this next flow of expansion, you will let go of the control and you will allow yourself to be opened by Jesus, the Christ, These are his words from John chapter 15, 1-5. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word I have spoken to you, so abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in he is the one who bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. This is expansion by engagement, not by conquest. Don't fear conquest, by the way. You can never be taken. Type that in. I can never be taken. Good. I can never be taken. Let's dwell on the Crusades for a moment. A gruesome time of expansion by conquest, where landowners and knights were driven to sell their land to the system to pay for pilgrimages and missions abroad. And then they were recruited to those missions, and they didn't have much choice. It was either do that, go out on this crusade by conquest, or stay in the bleak reality of dwindling crops and increasing diseases. And by the way, the church will absolve you of all your sins if you go along and fight for the crusades. So the system bribed the people to go out onto these crusades, to conquer and to take the opportunities to establish the reality that the status quo said was correct. More of the same. But each crusader was not the church. He was a man. And when the crusaders arrived in faraway lands, each man encountered an energy he'd never experienced. The goddess. For in these cultures, she was alive. Arabic poets and the great Sufi mystics would write these stunning odes to the woman, the divine feminine beclothed in fragrances and spices, a tender reverence for the wild movement of spirit, the hips and bosoms of the mother, the sisters, the daughters of God, and this fused with a magical twilight world of the Celtic legend in the consciousness and hearts of the Crusaders. And together, the alchemy of these energies became an irresistible fantasy genre, which fired the imagination of the whole of Europe. And the Crusaders were infected with romance. And added to that potent brew was an even more radical concept of the era, that of service of woman. Queens and princesses heard how women of the East were worshipped, and the movement of romanticism began. Everywhere, poetry clubs and societies blossoming like buds on the vine, and even the establishment of the courts of love, codes of conduct of knightly honor, divine feminine rising. This was expansion by engagement. And it doesn't matter how the system tries to bribe you to expand its borders by conquest. And it doesn't matter how the system tries to conquer you and expand its borders into you. Spirit expands by engagement, and nothing can stop it. It's like a flame to a flame. So with the Crusades, the church with the little c tried to win, tried to expand its linear area and the currency numbers and the followers and the bosshood. But the church with the capital C did win. as the mystical energy of true love and sovereign freedom spreads like that flame to a flame, burning down old paradigms and igniting the passion of the human spirit, liberating love to do what it does best, grow. So this week, as we are immersing in the energy of expansion, your mission is to be acutely discerning of these two energies. Number one, conquest. And remember, when you notice the energy of conquest, your magic spell is, I can never be taken. And the second energy is engagement, true engagement. When you review your business goals this week, notice, am I in conquest or engagement? When you review your family and your relationship goals, ask, am I in conquest or engagement? When you tend to your actions and your connections, am I in conquest or engagement? When someone asks you a question, listen to their answer. And when you ask someone a question, listen to their answer. And when someone else asks you a question, tell them the truth. Because the truth is that it is only through true engagement that you will expand. You will not ascend on your own or by your own works. It doesn't work that way. Sovereignty does not mean solitude. And do not forget your great commission as a disciple of Christ. These are the words in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 13 to 16. Listen. Unless we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of love, the Son of God, to mature spirituality, to the full measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ, so that none of us may any longer be children, tossed about to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes, but rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, the body will grow so that it builds itself up in love. It is only in that true engagement with one another that expansion occurs. Here's another magic spell for the week for you. This is an affirmation that binds you energetically to the momentum of expansion that is now flowing from source through the intercessor that adapts that energy to who you are and what you need, so that it manifests in the most appropriate and graceful ways for you and your community. This is the magic spell for that. Hang on, let me just check. Do you want this spell? Oh, yeah, okay. Yes. All right. Type it in. I am in the vine. I am in the vine. I am in the vine. This is your prayer for the week. I am in the vine. I am in the vine. Expansion this week for you is effortless, light, and curious. Your eyes are open. Your energy is allowing itself to blossom into Christ. And you will notice things budding, blossoms opening tenderly and gently. They may be unexpected and curious. For example, the impulse to learn a new song, perhaps. And you're listening out for the two energies of conquest and engagement. That is the energy and focus for this week of deliverance. Thank you all very much for joining us. On Thursday, here in the Oasis, we're going to see in the Bible the feminine and the masculine in their holy distinctions. And we will learn from the book of Esther how these principles create incredible, unexpected outcomes of true expansion by engagement, not conquest. So come back on Thursday, those of you in the Oasis. And if you're not in the Oasis, but you would like to be, reach out and we'll bring you in. Enjoy your week of experiencing being in the vine. Enjoy the juice of the pomegranates and the fragrances of the mandrakes and every delicacy. And if you're watching this somewhere other than the Oasis, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. And reach out if you'd like to come into the Oasis. Now I'm going to turn off the live stream and open the door here in the Oasis. Let's feast together.